we were talking about the different locations, and I remember him joking about like, yeah, you don't want to go to this, because there wasn't much information about Kinmen online, especially back then. Right, it was Galiang, landmines. We were like, where is this place? I don't know, don't want to end up there. Where I ended up getting placed, which was my last choice, was Kinmen. But I remember feeling like this is where I'm supposed to be, and I was like really excited.
Like the day you arrived, you felt that way.
Yeah, I was like, this feels right.
You had some challenges with the actual birth process here.
Our baby was very large. He was the largest baby that our doctor has delivered, induced for like 4 days.
Oh my God, you were in labor for 4 days? Cole Fogel here today, and I am with another special guest. Everyone's special, right? If you watched my interview with a really awesome dude named Jake. So I am with Jake's lovely wife, and your name is?
Carissa. I'm originally from Long Island, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of seafood because it's an island, lots of shellfish.
Growing up in New York, is that where you lived most of your life before you came to Asia?
Yeah, and then after grad school, I moved to Minnesota, we got engaged, got married a few months later.
Oh, you met, so wait, where did you meet Jake then?
We met in Germany.
Was it love at first sight for you?
No. No. So he wanted to do like a social experiment kind of, and like change his vibe.
Yeah, I do remember you mentioned that. Yeah. So you mean you didn't get the real Jake when you first met him?
No.
He was playing a character.
Yeah. I remember him wearing like a hoodie. Was it an orange hoodie? I can't remember. But he had the hood up.
Yeah.
And then just like basketball shorts, like really baggy ones. And he had glasses on, and then his beard was just like huge, and just like his hair was really long too. I thought that he was like into like science and video games. That was my first impression. Just like, this guy doesn't leave his bedroom kind of thing.
Oh, he was a nerd.
Yeah.
And then you chatted with him, and obviously your impression changed when he started talking, I guess? Or was he still playing a character at that point?
He was still playing his character.
Because I know that you are the one that had a great deal to do with why your husband came here. What was your obsession with Taiwan? Or what brought you to Taiwan? Because he said that you were just in love with this island. Mm-hmm. Was Taiwan the first Asian country you lived?
So I studied in China, like short term.
Oh, you lived in China, okay. What brought you to China then?
So for undergrad, I majored in like Spanish language education.
Minored nothing to do with Chinese. All right, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I minored in Chinese.
Oh,
at the time,
okay.
Yeah, at the time my college didn't have like a Chinese teaching program, so that's why I had to kind of do it that way.
Yeah.
I did 2 like study abroad programs in undergrad. First one was like a winter program, both short term, in Argentina. Second one was in China for like...
What part of China were you in?
We were based in Shanghai, and then we did
big
like...
city.
Yeah. So I went to like Shanghai University for, was it a 6-week program maybe? It wasn't like super long. And that was my first time in Asia, and I had always wanted to like come to Asia, especially China. And so I was just like over the moon, and I was like, I have to come back.
And then how much later on did you then come to Taiwan? Or why Taiwan, actually, better yet?
So I think it was like a year later. So it ended up being to apply for a Fulbright teaching.
In Taiwan?
Well, I didn't know. I wanted to do it in China. I didn't know anything about Taiwan, honestly, at the time. But they only had like research programs in China, and I didn't want to do that. So then I was trying to look at like where else could I be in a like Mandarin speaking society and teach.
Where was your Mandarin at that point, by the way?
It was like,
I mean, mine is kind of So then you found something that was being offered in Taiwan.
In Taiwan, yeah.
In Kaohsiung?
No. The way that they do the program, you apply, and then if you get selected, basically you submit like your ranking of your like top choice to your bottom choice.
So what was your top choice?
Kaohsiung was, actually. I wanted to be in a city, and that was the biggest city they had at the time. And one of my like classmates in college ended up getting placed in Kaohsiung, and I was so sad. I remember texting him that morning, the like results came out, and I was like, maybe they'll let me switch, because where I ended up getting placed, which was my last choice, was Kinmen.
In 2015?
Yeah. When I was like going through the application process, all the steps, like talking with my advisor, we were talking about the different locations. And I remember him joking about like, yeah, you don't want to go to this, because there wasn't much information about Kinmen online, especially back then. Right, it was Galiang, landmines. We were like, where is this place? I don't know, don't want to end up there. And then that's where I was placed.
So how long were you in Kinmen for?
For a year.
All right, so the day you arrived, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, super exhausted. And it was hot because we arrived in August and we're all exhausted, meeting everyone for the first time. There were like 22 people in my group, I think. We're all just like on adrenaline, like, where are we? What's going on? Yeah. I remember eating lunch that day. Like, I remember the restaurant we went to.
What did you eat?
And dumplings, some sort of, maybe like pan-fried dumplings or
like
something.
Like a dumpling house or something?
They had like everything. It was one of those places where like everything was good. Yeah. We went there a lot.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, really great. I miss it. But I remember feeling like this is where I'm supposed to be. And I was like really excited
like
to be
the day you arrived, you felt that way?
Yeah, I was like, this feels right. And then I just grew to love being there. There are things that are hard about it. Just being a foreigner in Taiwan sometimes is that you stand out a lot and you get like a lot of attention, and yeah, especially on Kinmen. I remember too, like, I mean, we had lived there for like 8 months, and there would be a lot of tour groups that would come to Kinmen from Taiwan and also from China. And you can always spot the tour groups.
And they're looking at you like you're a monkey taking photos of you?
Yeah. Or they'll be like asking us things and it's like, we live here, you're the visitors.
Yeah.
Like,
that's hilarious.
Yeah. And the weather in Kinmen is very different too. Like it's pretty cold in the winter and super windy.
That sounds kind of exciting.
I was very cold. My dad, he came to visit when I did that year there, and he didn't believe me that it would be that cold. He ended up being super cold. And yeah, so they placed me in Kaohsiung this time. That first year was a little hard for me.
First years are challenging, right?
Yeah. So I have like a teaching background, right? That was my major. All of my classes have been co-taught with like a local teacher. I mean, I've never actually like had a chance to have my own class, but I think there are pros and cons with both. I had like my own like teaching philosophies and stuff. Like you have to kind of like adjust because you're not the main teacher. And every class is like different too. Some are more challenging than others.
Depending
if any of my former students are watching, love you all.
Honestly, I have nothing but love for all my students, even the ones that made my life difficult, because those ones that challenge you are usually the most awesome human beings that are stuck in a institution that doesn't quite work for them, but forced to be part of that. And so I almost like feel like I have to be a little bit more loving to those kids because they didn't ask to be put in that reality. They were forced into that reality.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's something we should think about as teachers, like school is not for everyone, so can you kind of help those kids find some love in what they're experiencing, as opposed to making them feel like they're bad because they can't chill out like most of the kids. I don't know, that's my attitude about it.
Yeah, no, I'm similar. I think like certain things work for certain people. I mean, not even just students, like just people, right? Like people. We all have different things that work best for us. And so I think like my thinking is, as a teacher, like I ideally try to do my best to like provide the education and the type of instruction that like a student will best vibe with.
Individual kid needs.
Yeah.
Kind of hard. I look at it like I'm a special ed teacher to every child that I teach. This kid needs more audio, what do you call it? Like visual learning, audio, whatever, auditory learning, like different ways of learning.
Yep. Yeah.
What area of improvement do you think could be helpful?
So my experience in Taiwan has only been in elementary schools. I guess, well, what comes to mind first, I think, is like some of the things I really like about the elementary environment here. I really like, from what I've seen.
Yes, tell me what you like first. Sorry, I shouldn't ask, like, what do you not like? Taiwanese are like, Cole, why are you always hating on, like, because I think it's interesting to hear what people think. But anyway, what do you like about it first?
I really like the chores that the students have to do.
It's adorable, right?
Yeah, I think it's just really good for kids to learn how to like take care of things, like just for people to like have a sense of responsibility and like caring for, like being just taking care of the things that you have. So like the AIs would bring like a cart with the trays of food to each classroom, and then the students would take turns serving lunch to each other every day. and they'd have like the little hairnet on and
cute.
gloves and whatever. But so there's this kind of like shared sense of
Like
responsibility.
family.
Yeah. And that like we all are responsible to work together to like get done what needs to get done. And I just think that's like a really good skill for everybody.
I agree with you. And at first I was like, so my only issue with that is like, shouldn't that be the stuff they learn at home, right? But then I realized, but you know, in a lot of modern societies, everybody's working and busy. The parents don't necessarily have time to instill those kinds of habits at home. So is there any key factors that you think could use some upgrades? You can be honest.
Yeah. The thing that's probably been the hardest to me, or like the two things, and they go together sometimes, are the like scolding. In the US, if anyone is unfamiliar, in the US, if a teacher like were to yell at a student like that, like they would be fired.
Forget about
like right away. It's definitely not allowed at all. And so as an American, like seeing that and like being in that situation, and again I think that's where some of the co-teaching like feels hard.
When you get a teacher who's overly angry to the kid, it really hurts my heart actually. I find it really difficult because it's not healthy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's going to cause trauma.
Yeah.
So there might be some people that watch and say, no, I think it's necessary, but that's probably because you grew up in that, you were taught that way, so you see it as good, but I think there's a negative to your psyche when you're reprimanded that way. It's not healthy, I don't think.
Yeah, so that is like something that's definitely hard for me.
Taiwan is not the only country like that. There are other parts of Asia, and even I'm sure you get authoritative teachers back home too. I think it's teaching using fear rather than love. It's like how I look at it, it's like Western medicine versus Chinese medicine. Western medicine will make you feel better right away, just like discipline will get the kid to be quiet right away. And Chinese medicine will heal your body if you give it time, but it might take a few weeks because it's a healing agent that takes time. And love might also take time to get that kid to listen. And it requires a level of patience, I think, that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
If you're not a teacher thinking about becoming a teacher, if you can't be patient, it's not the right profession, because you want to raise a loving society, not a stressed out, scared society. So, sorry, that was a lot. My wife will probably cut all that out, but anyway.
But the other thing is, I think like the support for students with like learning disabilities and stuff.
It's low?
I think,
here?
Yeah, I think here it's low. It definitely depends on like the school you're in, and I've seen different teachers offer more support than others, but still what I've seen, it's like a lot less than in the US. Some students, just some people like were built a little bit differently too, and so like certain things don't work for us.
My son is in a what would be a special education class because he just finds learning in a certain way challenging.
Sure.
And I agree with you, they need more resources.
Yeah. I think too, like I've encountered sometimes it feels like teachers maybe, because like some of those students will go to the special education classroom, and so then they like don't try as hard maybe with those students
when
in
they're
their
in the
classes.
class, yeah.
And so that's hard for me. The way that I was, my like teaching program, the way they instructed us was like it's our job to scaffold and like provide, like alter activities and worksheets and lesson plans and stuff to make it accessible for each student. And so some students need more support than others, some need more of a challenge.
And you work together with a special ed teacher.
Yeah, right.
They communicate with you to say this is what this kid needs, and then you're able to incorporate that.
Yeah.
Your husband mentioned in our other interview that you had some challenges with the actual birth process here.
I think there are multiple things.
Yeah.
I mean, our baby was very large, so that's like, he was the largest baby that our doctor has delivered.
Well,
and
he's an American baby.
So he was like 4,200 grams when he was born. It was funny, the first 2 days that like he was born, I think all the nurses from the hospital came to visit him. They told us because they were like, who is this really
this
big baby?
Yeah.
And because of that, we decided it would be best to induce like our best chance of having a natural birth. Natural meaning non-C-section.
Right. My wife went through the C-section.
Yeah. So we ended up doing that as well. I think the two
you ended
things-
up having a C-section.
Yeah. I don't think my body was ready because I was induced for like 4 days and in labor for 4 days, which is crazy.
Oh my God, you were in labor for 4 days?
I mean,
wow.
Yeah, but it like wasn't progressing. Literally, like they checked how dilated I was a few hours before going into the OR, and I had finally progressed, like the most I had that whole time. But at that point, neither of us had slept. I was so anxious.
Could have been dangerous to your health, right?
Right.
After
I mean,
4
it was
days.
just like, it was crazy. Like we were exhausted.
I'm sure.
And then the other issue was that I was in, like, I couldn't sleep because I was in just like terrible pain. And I think it was a separate health issue. But I couldn't like sit or lay down. And once your water breaks, you have to here. And I couldn't because I was in excruciating pain. And I had an epidural and it wasn't doing anything for that pain.
Wow.
I was on the max meds. I even had to get extra injections because that was the only thing that was the only way I could sleep.
So if 10 was the worst pain, you were above 10.
Yeah.
You were at a 15.
Yeah. It was. I think the contractions were like okay. I mean, I couldn't feel them.
Yeah, it was the other pain that you were.
Right. Yeah. When we started feeling the contractions, like before I got the epidural, it was like manageable. But it was the other stuff that was just unbearable. I mean, it was our first experience too, like giving birth, and then our first like hospital experience really in Taiwan, and things are pretty different. And we both ended up healthy. I mean, my body's still like recovering.
Of course, yeah. What do you think about raising a kid here in Taiwan?
I mean, I just love how safe it is, and I never have to really be concerned about safety or going out alone with him or any of that. And I think people are everyone loves our baby. One time we were crossing the street and there was an ama like coming the other way, like a grandma, and she saw our baby and she was like, so
I know sometimes like you want to like whoa, hey. I don't know where your hands have been, Grandma.
A lot of people like to touch our baby.
They do.
That's hard for me.
And it
I'm
is
a little germophobic.
Me too, right? Like it is a harmless thing, but it's like.
I think it's part of being a new mom. One of the challenges a little bit has been just figuring out like breastfeeding, and I think it's not as common to exclusively breastfeed.
Do you still breastfeed now?
Yeah. So he's on
you're
solids.
9 months in now, and that's amazing that you're still
going.
I think a lot of women, it's actually uncomfortable. For my wife, it was. She got like through, I don't know, it was a year. I don't. She was starting to have pain. Yeah. Where she was just like almost in tears about not wanting to stop, but it was so painful that she had to stop.
Yeah.
You know what happens when they start eating solids, though.
I know, yeah.
Like, what happened to that sweet-smelling poo you used to have? Oh my goodness.
Yep.
You see yourself living here indefinitely?
We hope to stay in Taiwan and Kaohsiung long term.
You think Kaohsiung is the place, though?
I think so, yeah.
For me, the hard part is my parents are getting older.
Yeah.
You know, my dad's he's turning 80, I don't know, 84, 85. That's hard, you know, like being so far away. But putting aside my parents, I feel the same way. Like I just feel like, I can live here forever. Is there anything that you would like to say to the world? Something, a core value that you'd want to say?
The character Wang, like Xi Wang, the Wang part in Chinese. I remember in undergrad, we were talking about that character, and I remember learning that it meant like to look into the distance with expectation. And that always really stuck with me. We believe as Christians, like there's a verse in the Bible that says like, and these three remain, faith, hope, and love. And so those are like three really core values. And I think for the past 10 years of my life, hope has really like stood out. Another verse in the Bible is that like we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And so I think remembering that like no matter what we each look like or the different struggles that we have, like God made us. I believe that God made every human, and he made us like beautiful with each of our unique aspects and even like the challenges that we all face. Like
100%.
There also are pros with
it has been like wonderful like chatting with you, and I need a little cameo if it's all right. Dude, you are really cute. All right, well, I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next one. Can we just give a wave? Can we give a wave? Yay!